welcome back to the ANS Way. Today's video is going to be about why you would choose to live in the UK. And the reason we're covering this in today's video is because we recently got a question, we got a question on Instagram from a family, and I won't go into the specifics of the detail behind their question, but essentially they were asking, from the country that they're coming from, why should they pick the UK versus the USA?
And vice versa.
And that led to a very lengthy discussion between myself and Anne about the pros and cons of both. So we thought, you know what, we'll do a dedicated video on why you would pick the UK. We're going to base this on 5 main things: financial opportunity, stability, healthcare, education and schooling, what's the other one? Safety, and transport. And just to note, this has got nothing to do with which country you might have a personal preference on based on the weather, the scenery. This is purely based on the infrastructure of the country.
Forgot to mention, we're actually doing 2 videos. So this one is about the UK, and then we'll do one for the US.
Before we get into it, if you haven't already, what must they do, Anne?
Like, subscribe, comment, be active on the channel. It helps out a lot. So the more likes we get, or dislikes, the more the video gets promoted. We do get, there's one person that just follows all of our videos, I think, because it's just one dislike every time. Probably somebody we've upset at home. Don't worry, we can't find out who it is, so you could just continue to dislike.
We are going to start off with financial stability. And this
Stroke opportunity, but we'll get there. 100%, there is no doubt that the UK affords a lot of financial stability, and especially if you are somebody coming from a very low income, you can't work, perhaps you're just lazy and don't want to work. It's me.
The system is there to really start you off in life, whether it's through education, making sure you're provided with healthcare, dental, and also if you were doing well, and let's say you had a job and you had a good income but then fell on hard times, again, you have stability in terms of the system in ensuring that you will be given benefits and allowances, and ultimately healthcare, which is a key thing. Housing, healthcare, cars, as I found out as well.
Oh yeah, you learned that, yeah.
There are things put in place to make sure that there's at least a minimum quality of life that you will have for you and your family. So in terms of the stability, I would say the UK is not a punishing system, whereas I would say in the USA it is far more punishing.
Yes. Can be. And I would say in terms of the financial opportunity, it comes from the stability, because it's quite a stable system, it's quite a forgiving system in our opinion. It allows you to make mistakes, it allows you to come from not great backgrounds, so me growing up in a council estate, and it allows you to build on that without punishing you. Potentially, I mean, just yesterday you see people on the streets, everywhere, on the motorways, under the motorways, round the corners, hiding behind things. That does exist in the UK, but not on the scale that it does here in the US. So that in itself gives you an opportunity to start from very humble beginnings and just build yourself up in your career. The one negative I would say with that, I feel that there's a financial cap generally for people. Even if you're really skilled in your profession, you probably won't be paid and compensated that well. And if you are, it won't be to the level of the US, and you'll get taxed about twice as much, because in order for the system to be that stable and that supporting, they have to take money from somewhere to support it.
And I would just add, sometimes I feel it means that, and I mentioned lazy, I think it means that you can be more lazy, and that's an unfortunate part of that system. And it's not everyone, but because you do have that stability,
safety net, that's what it is. It's a real safety net.
The drive isn't there, whereas definitely here in the USA I found that
everybody's got 7 jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so bizarre.
So it's great in one hand, as long as you don't, it depends.
It breeds complacency, doesn't it? And because you can be complacent, a lot of people will be complacent, and there's a reason why the system works in the way it does in the UK.
Next is healthcare. Well, that's a no-brainer for most people. Healthcare is afforded to everyone in the UK, whether you earn or do not earn. you don't have to worry about the quality of care that you get in the UK, because the NHS system essentially means that there is a minimum that you will get for every single person. Now, if I was to go off on a tangent, I would start saying that depending on where you are in the UK, the quality of care is not the same.
Don't upset people.
But the great thing about the UK, if you have 1 child, no children, 10 children, you don't have to worry about the cost of healthcare.
Yeah, there's no change in cost depending on the size of your family. The only change in cost is dependent on how much you earn. It scales because it's a percentage of your income, your national insurance. That is the only scale. That works brilliantly, again, for people starting out in life or coming from, what is the correct term? Underprivileged beginnings, whatever the correct term is. It gives you the best starting place. You haven't got to find $300, $400, $500 a month before you even begin. You don't have to have anything. If you're not earning money, you haven't come from a family earning money, you can start out with 0 debt. And that is kind of, as we get into the other video, that is kind of the opposite to the US. So I would say, for those people that did ask the question, the UK is going to be a much easier ride in that sense.
And the other thing I would add to that, especially if you've got any chronic long-term illnesses in the UK, you know that you're always going to be looked after. So if you have medication needs, if you've got you need surgery, all those things that I know people worry about here in the USA is just not something that you have to worry about.
And one of the other things, and people in the UK I think will have a better idea, but coming from outside of the UK, there are still some charges. For example, we've mentioned it in a few videos, there are prescription charges. Even though you pay in your tax, that's kind of for the overall service. If you require certain prescriptions and you're earning money, you don't get benefits, you will have to pay for those prescriptions. However, it's free up until you're 16 or 18.
Yeah.
So for children, it's free. So then again, you've got this kind of great mechanism that doesn't punish you at the beginning. So while you've got children, you're raising children, they're not charging you extra. You'll still be paying the same amount of your salary. You go to the doctors, you need to get them an asthma pump or whatever it might be. There's no additional charge until they become of age.
It's also not complex. If you need to book an appointment to go and see your local GP physician, go to the hospital, it's really easy in the UK. So I would say managing healthcare is 100 times easier in the UK.
That's probably the best point. So even for me, and I lean to the US side more and the US system in lots of different ways. It's a very complex system here, which we'll cover in a little bit more detail. The UK, you pick up the phone, you phone someone, they tell you to wait 2 weeks. You're like, my leg is hanging off. They go, 2 weeks, come in.
Yeah, you might have to wait a bit to get seen.
But when you arrive, you talk to a person, you don't need to know anything from that point. You'll receive a letter with a referral through your door. You go to your referral appointment. You don't have to worry about anything there. You'll receive another letter telling you what to do next. It's a very, very, very easy system run mostly by fairly competent professionals.
Third one is around education and schooling. What's your thoughts on that?
Are you putting it onto me?
I'm interviewing Anne today.
My thoughts, anyone that follows, I'm not big on education for myself in the traditional sense. That doesn't mean to say I don't have an appreciation for what the UK system allows. Personally, I think it offers one of the best systems in the world. It offers a really good level of education through primary, secondary or high school, all the way through to your higher education, your degrees. So much so that you get a degree in the UK and you can pretty much transfer that anywhere in the world. That doesn't apply to all places.
True, yeah.
A lot of the time, if you get a degree in wherever, maybe Eastern Europe, they don't necessarily recognise that. Or if you get it in certain parts of Africa, they won't recognise that here in the US or the UK. But the UK seemingly is good enough that it is recognised worldwide. On top of that, it's a completely free system. Your primary education is free, your secondary education is free, and your degree is technically not free, but it's subsidised heavily. You pay about $9,000 a year, roughly, and then you only pay it back when you start earning money. Of course, that loan is against your name, but I think it gets written off after about 25, 30 years.
Apparently,
so if you choose not to work, which some people do, or they leave the country, you don't actually pay it back. Now, I'm not suggesting that's a good thing. I'm just saying that is the way the system works. It's available to everybody. So you can go and get an advanced degree, you can do your master's with no cash out of pocket until you start earning. And the way you pay it back is a percentage of your earnings. So if you're under 20,000, let's say, you're not going to pay anything back. If you're on 30,000, you might pay a few percent, and 100,000, you're probably going to pay a little bit more. But to me, that's the fairest way. It encourages people to go, learn, get educated, get into the working system, and then pay your dues so the next people can come along. There's too much complaining in the UK for me about the education system. Everyone wants everything for free, but that's not realistic. I think we've nailed it, especially when you compare it to here.
Yeah, definitely. It's why you will also hear lots of people saying that they've never paid off their student loans.
Yeah.
There's many of those that will never pay back.
You paid your student loans back.
I paid my
Paid them all
student
off.
loan, but I also picked a degree that didn't cost any money. It was fully subsidised.
Which
by the
sounds
government.
weird because you're saying you paid your loans back, but you had one.
Yeah,
due.
so essentially there's a tuition fee, and that's the yearly fee, which a few years ago was around £10,000. I don't know what it is today. But when I was going, that fee was waived because it was fully subsidised. It was essentially to get workers into the NHS and to support the healthcare system, which I did really well for a few years before I left and went to the USA. But that's the great thing about the UK system. And yes, I did pay off my student loan actually. And the other bit that I would say about education and schooling is that I think it's a fair system for all in that sense. I honestly, my opinion in the UK, that there isn't a disparity based on where you come from. And
there's not as big a disparity
as big
because
a disparity.
people will talk about certain northern areas, or if you're out in the Highlands.
Exactly.
It's
That
gonna
is,
be different.
yeah, and actually, I won't. Yeah, that's very true. Just like anywhere, dependent on an area, a particular school might be worse or better than another. So you do find parents looking for the best postcode to live in for their children. So that still happens in the UK. But also what is nice, and what brought me and Ant together, is the grammar system that they have in the UK, which allows children of a certain ability to be put into these schools to really kind of push and elevate them in a different way than going into a normal comprehensive school.
Yeah, so that system is, we were told, I've never looked this up, it's the top 2%. So the way it's an aptitude test. So you're tested at 11 years old because it's called the 11 plus. And whatever that catchment is for that particular year, so the score, the pass mark can change. I'm guessing it's the top 2% of people that take it get into a grammar, or have the opportunity, you don't have to go into a grammar school, and that affords you a much higher level of education, similar to what you'd expect for private education, but for free. And the reason that was brought in is because people like me and my family would never have the money to send their kids to private education. However, the system recognises, but there's going to be lots of bright people. Yeah. Not saying I'm bright, I'm not that bright. the test said I was, but I'm not. But it still wants to have the opportunity to educate those people that are a little bit more gifted, I don't know what the right word would be, without having them pay £12,000 to £20,000 per year.
And if I was a parent, I would say that's definitely a huge plus of the UK system. So if you know there is, and most parents will think there's something special about their kids.
Until they get their 11 plus back and they've scored 7.
But the idea is that at least you can go for the 11 plus and set your child on the better path. The last bit we will point out on education, and something that we've definitely, and I've picked up working in the USA, is I don't think there is as much of an importance or emphasis on your education in the UK as in the USA. I see people in very well paid jobs relative to the UK.
Yes.
are doing well in the UK
in senior positions
without having an MBA or a degree, or there'll be people running businesses in trades, as an example, that maybe went through an apprenticeship scheme. I don't think the care for whether you have higher education is the same in the UK, which I think is brilliant because it's more about the person and their experience. Whereas their aptitude, exactly. What's their competence in that field? And that's great, especially if you have children that don't suit that system, that aren't about going to a classroom or going on a course. Whereas I feel in the US, there's a huge emphasis on, you need a degree or you need an MBA and everything. And I think a lot of jobs require it, whereas in the UK, in terms of career and opportunity in that sense,
there isn't so much. And they're more willing to, even if they do put down jobs, which I don't think they should, they're more willing, because I've applied for jobs and not had an issue with the fact that I don't have a degree. And even though they've said degree 3 years, when you say, I've been doing this job for 7 years, here's the projects, and I go, well, what's the point? Whereas here, you look at sweeping job and you need a 3-year financial degree. Like, how? What?
Yeah.
You want me to spend 200 grand to get a financial degree to sweep the floors? That makes no sense. But it's like this barrier of entry. So it's a pay-to-play system in the US.
That's
it
a
seems.
joke, by the way, because I know we're going to get a comment
Good
on here,
comment,
so that's not true. So the fourth topic is around safety. 100% UK is more safe.
In
Definitely,
every aspect,
yeah.
it's just a safer place. It's safer in terms of violent crimes, gun crimes, which is a violent crime, the safety net that you have in terms of the benefit system and the healthcare. It's a safer place to drive. It's a safer place to. It's just safer. We'll get into a little bit more in the US thing, but I just look at it as similar to the opportunity thing. There is less opportunity, therefore it's probably going to be safer. And where there is more opportunity, it's probably going to be a little bit more chaotic. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, the big one for me is gun crime. You're never worrying about something like that. Here in the USA, you are hearing about gun crime all the time. And our last one on the UK is around transport. And again, this is an easy one. The UK is semi-easy. For the most part, you can get across the UK very easily by trains, and that's
or public transport.
Or public transport, yeah. So whether it's you're living in a local town and maybe you don't have the train system to use, but you've got
Which towns aren't local?
No, yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? I was actually meaning
Do
small.
we?
I mean, you don't know what I mean. I know what I mean. Small towns, villages.
Little villages,
Yeah, because they're the ones out in the sticks, as we would call it, where your links to other cities isn't as great. So typically, you would always have a car in those smaller villages, but they generally always have buses everywhere in the UK. Every town, no matter how small, generally has a bus. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And getting around the UK. So I had a good few years of, I travelled, both of us, me and Anne, have travelled across the UK for work. And yes, I would use my car, but also if I didn't want to, I could easily get from London to Manchester to Liverpool with a train as well. So if you don't have a car, it is a great country to live in that sense.
Yeah, and I would just say that it is the overall transportation system. So this is whether it's from tubes to buses to trains to flights. Flights are incredibly cheap in the UK and Europe. The train system is unfairly expensive, but in comparison, relatively cheap to some other systems like here. It's horrible and expensive, whereas the UK has a fantastic network of rail systems. And okay, it might take you 3 changes, but you can go, and you can go from London to Manchester for £30 sometimes. Not always if it's in a working week, but there's always deals on if you're just going up to have a day out in Manchester or Liverpool. We've done it before, and you can get there in 2 and a bit hours.
Yeah, definitely. 2
and a bit hours. You can go to Scotland in 4 or 5 hours, all via public transport. And as you said, if you're in a local village or a village out in the sticks, it might run only every hour, an hour and a half, but there will be a bus that you can plan to get on, get to a station, then that station will take you to a main station, and then you can get wherever you want. The majority of places that we have been to and we enjoy in the US pretty much have no transportation other than
no
the
public
car.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a huge difference with that, and because the UK, especially if you just look at England, it's tiny.
It's tiny.
It's so easy. And the other thing I wanted to say, particularly to the family that are considering the UK, US, this ties in with safety and transport. You really don't have to worry about your children when they're going off to secondary school. It's super easy to get on a bus. You're probably going to take them once or twice just to make sure, but you can send your kid on the bus. It's probably 1 or 2 buses, half an hour to get to their secondary school, their high school. Really easy. Here, I have no idea, other than the fact that most US cities have the specific bus system.
The school bus, yeah.
Yeah, school bus system. I don't know how people get around here. So if you've got a 13-year-old, I don't know how they get to the shops. I'm guessing they have to be driven.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
Skateboard.
Well, maybe some of the viewers can say.
Yeah, I genuinely, and we don't have children, so we can't really speak on it, but I don't know how they get around. Whereas in and around most of the places we've lived or wanted to live, you can either get a tram, which we've got lots of cities with trams. You can jump on a bus to the local shopping centre, cinema. Here, even though our cinema, we can see it from upstairs.
Oh
I don't know
guess-
how
I
you
guess
get there.
They Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, so that gives you kind of a better perspective of, from our opinion, how much better the transportation system is in the UK.
The other thing I would add to that is if you're just moving to the UK, and especially if you move to somewhere like a major city, it means that you don't have to worry about getting a car straight away.
Definitely, yeah.
Which is a huge
Yeah.
cost that you have to think
Yeah.
about if you come to the USA. Whereas in the UK, you can move, you can settle in, and not have to worry about having a car straight. So that rounds off the 5 things: financial stability, healthcare, education, safety, and transport.
Good
But-
memory.
It's a good memory. Or maybe it's right in front of me and I can just see it. No, that was off my memory. But what we thought we would do is at least give you kind of a summary or a general consensus of why you should pick the UK. And what is that?
Gotta remember, I said an excellent piece off camera. I can't remember it.
I was very convinced. I was like, maybe we should go back to the UK.
So the
No.
UK for me is a very clean, safe, well-educated society, and I think it affords more people more opportunity to start out in life. That's my true belief, which is why, even though you'll probably see me lean to the US, I genuinely really appreciate growing up in the UK. I don't think either of us would be where we are now without the support of the UK system, so we owe it that at least. But I think it's a springboard. I think you get to a certain level or a certain place,
and
then you leave and go to the US or another nation. That's for me the summary. Anything?
No, and you know, I know lots of people that are very happy in the UK, and for a lot of people that are not like us, that aren't, they're happy with their family, they like the way they live, the quality of life, they are very, very happy. So just because we want more or want something different, I would say different, it doesn't mean that the UK isn't for you. There you go, and thanks for watching.